controversial subjects with the facts can be tense. But we are a science here to make things make sense.
Whew, it's getting spicy in here.
Oh, hi. I'm bricked up right now with my fetish.
What?
I taught Mitch what bricked up meant today.
You didn't teach me. Like, I kind of assimilated a meaning for myself based on seeing it being said on TikTok, but then you kind of clarified it, I guess.
Bricked up means boner or hard clit.
It
hard
does?
Clit. Wait,
So-
what did you think it was?
I thought you meant like sexually. Just aroused.
No, it's like I'm bricked up, like my heart is a rock. My dick is hard as a rock, and clitoris is maybe hard as a rock.
Never knew that. Okay, well, I'm still learning the lingo. This is the first part of my journey to being like, what are the kids saying?
Yeah, no, I had to Google it. Imagine what does bricked up mean?
And you probably could.
Actually, the amount of times I've done
Quora for it or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, what is that website?
Quora.
Quora.
Yeah, I always feel really bad when I'm there.
But it's like, and it really took over Yahoo Answers, which used to be the thing.
Ooh, one of my studies uses Yahoo groups, and I was like, well, we'll take that with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? Like,
They're like, Yahoo,
Yeah.
don't believe you.
I was like reading a PubMed article, and they're like, we did a survey with 3,000 people using Yahoo groups. I was like, nah, debunked. Like, I ain't like this. I'll read your study, but not ain't like feeling
grain of
right.
sand, salt.
Yeah.
Grain of salt. What is it?
Make it with a grain of sand.
Salt.
Oh my god, salt. Wow.
All right, fetishes. Where do we want to begin?
Ooh, it could be sand. It
I
could
thought you were
be
gonna say sad.
sand.
I feel like fetishes now. I don't know where this podcast is going to go, and I don't know my comfort level of talking about like sexual stuff in the public eye. So
fun.
We're gonna see what
I'm like a
happens.
crazy unfiltered person, so it's just gonna be me being like, "Want like my feet?" And you're gonna be like, "Stop!"
Literally. So,
But do you? Okay.
I actually don't want to.
I don't.
Feet
I'm
are
into
not a
feet.
fetish for me.
Yeah, I'm not into feet. I wish I was, but I'm not.
You wish you were?
Like when I was reading so many studies about fetishes, I'm like, that sounds so fun.
To just have a
Like
fetish?
just be like, yeah, like you know what? I'm into freaking licking feet and it turns me on so hard. At least it's like and you've got like a really firm grasp on what you like. Like sometimes I'm like, what do I like?
I do have fetishes, but I think there's a lot of like I don't have any really strong fetishes, and I think there's a lot of shame around it for some people.
Yeah.
Like I think it's cool that when someone has a fetish and they kind of not that they make
Own
it their
it.
personality, but when
Yeah.
someone can be like, "This is my fetish," it is like a type of empowerment. I think because you're like, I'm not afraid to be sexual, and that's normal, and I like that thing. Whereas I do feel like, oh, I might have like kinks. I guess is what some people might call it too, where you're like, oh, I like that thing. It's not a fetish, but it's like.
Yeah. Okay. So this is when I was reading and like it was like a fetish, they kept saying atypical sexual desire, and I was like, are you allowed to say that? Like everything, I was like, am I gonna get
Cancel.
like, you know what I mean? Like atypical. Like I don't know, it's not bad, but like they kept saying atypical.
That's the word they use
in the lot of the like academic text.
I mean, that feels like a better word to use than most
atypical.
things.
But they were saying it means when you're sexually aroused by non-living objects or non-genital body parts, and I'm like, well, I get turned on by non-genital body parts. Like, have you ever seen a nice arm? Gorgeous tits. I guess are those genital? Oh yeah, gorgeous tits.
Well, that could be considered. I mean, it's not genitals, but don't people consider that like private parts?
But it's interesting. You know what I mean? I'm like, they said genitals, and a lot of I saw it in two like journal articles.
Yeah,
like, well, I
that's
like things that aren't
interesting, like-
genitals. Are those fetishes?
Like, is that atypical?
Yeah, I know. Pretty sure we all love tits.
Yeah, and people will be like, wow, their hands look so strong. You know what I mean? Like, there's
So
definitely
I'm like,
parts of
whoa.
body, or like the cheekbones could be attractive. Like, I guess like every part of the body
Yeah.
could be attractive.
My fetish is your
Ostensibly,
eyes.
is that what that word means? I've never ever said that word out
Yeah,
loud.
I don't know what it means. I have a science and art degree. I don't understand.
I think here. I'm gonna say what I think it means, and then I'm gonna look it up. I think
Okay.
ostensibly means like
ostensibly.
I
Could you use it in a sentence?
I just did.
I know. Google that.
Hey, want me to look up?
Yeah, because I'm like ostensibly. We can link it into fetishes, and then we will all learn.
Okay, ostensibly, apparently, or purportedly, but perhaps not actually.
Oh my god.
What did I say again?
I don't know, but it was that. Ostensibly. Know what? Ostensibly to this whole podcast. Because like everything about like communicating science, you're doing ostensibly. Because it's like you're taking information that's been studied in very specific things. A lot of my stuff has to do with rats. And then you're, being like, rats have brains. We have brains. Let's ostensibly draw a connection. That's how you learn. You have to like make that connection.
Yeah,
right?
I suppose.
Now you use it.
No. I think I used it in the right way the first time. But when
You could do it
when
now,
you're
though.
asked to do you have a definition of a word? And then suddenly I froze, and now I've like lost all meaning of that word. But I said it, and I was like, I think that kind of like when you were saying bricked up. I was like, I kind of think I know what it means, but if you ask me, I can't say what it means.
You're like, I can't say boner. I think it's just getting so
No,
aroused.
I just was like, oh, I think I kind of know what it means.
But now you know what it means.
Ostensibly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get it? Was that right?
Yeah.
But can I say ostensibly about myself? I actually don't think so.
No.
It's like I should know.
No, you can. You can. I must ostensibly.
Okay, back to fetishes. You were kind of talking about something, which was...
Well, I can ostensibly explain to you why a lot of
stop.
people are into feet.
Okay, let's start there, because I also want to talk about like the more general reasons why we have fetishes.
Okay.
Or the theories.
Okay, do that. Actually, I think that makes more sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then you'll talk more about the specific
Yes.
fetishes. So, okay. There's actually 4 main theories of why we have fetishes in the first place, but this is all heavily caveated, which is like there's...
It's ostensible.
Stop it. It's like there really are not that many studies for years. And the studies that exist, you know, it's hard to quantify these kinds of things and hard to isolate these kinds of things. So a lot of these theories are more like psychological in that sense of like people's brains, but there are some loose things about like brain connections and stuff, but it's not like, oh, it's because of this chemical release and these neurons connecting. It's not like ever down to that.
Okay.
So these theories are based more on like psychologists building theories around it. Does that make sense?
I think that is for all the fetish research I saw. There was not much.
Okay, so 4 main ones. First is brain overlap theory, and maybe this is the closest one to some empirical evidence, but it's just that the parts of your brain that are related to like your genitals, like sexual body
this
parts.
Is literally what I was going to say.
Oh.
Yeah, no, this is great. I didn't know how to a name. Brain overlap theory. Okay.
Yeah, those parts of your brain are directly adjacent to like parts that control the feet.
So this is exactly what I was going to say. It's from that Brainscape book that I read. They had a whole thing about fetishes because the S1 touch part of your brain, which is a literal, as like used this language before, Play-Doh pink piece on the top left-hand side of your brain, goes from the top and down, and it looks like like a piece of Play-Doh, and it has folds and everything. They are able to understand what neurons do what. And so there's like the neurons for your feet, and there's the most neurons for your hand, because that's where you actually have the most information in the brain. And there's just randomly, it's like your genitals, like the fleshy neurons where they're packed. It goes like literally like genitals.
Like right
and it's
beside.
at the end, it's like genitals, and right beside it is feet randomly, and then it goes to elbow. And it's like, oh, genitals and feet are physiologically next to each other
in your brain.
In the actual like physicality of
mapping.
your brain, of your S1 touch brain map. So that's what that is, the brain overlap theory.
Yeah, and so in the sense that it's a theory, it's like they just because they're beside each other, like the idea is that they crosstalk, or maybe they have more connections, but that's not like quantified.
Yeah, but it's really,
not like
it's
we
cool.
know for sure. Those
that's
areas.
a science discovery that someone was like, I'm amazing. I just found out why there's foot fetishes.
Yeah. So that was number 1. Theory number 2 is called the Pavlovian theory. So this is like if you're exposed to something while you're sexually aroused, it's more like you'll build an association with it. So they had a study where they would show men naked images of women and boots at the same time. And so they like built up an association with boots, and eventually they just showed the men's boots, and they would be able to measure that they were aroused.
Okay, I was going to add another study in here because it's exactly.
Am I stealing your
It's
stuff?
so funny. No, it's working together.
Okay.
It's not,
Am I stealing?
Competition. Well, no, mine is actually really good about boots. Okay, so what they did with
Sometimes
mice,
I feel that way.
No, well, you shouldn't. The thing about mice is this is so freaking weird and stupid. And it's like scientists are so insane. And it's like, oh my God, ostensibly with this one. But they put little leather vests.
Oh,
they put little leather vests
You're
on
lying.
mice. Yes,
Hey,
I'm not
Ratatouille.
lying. They ratatouille'd, fetished, like not cooking a meal. We're doing fetish sex with
When
mice.
you say a vest, I just picture like a guy who wears a vest and a fedora.
Okay, it's literally so. I wish they put fedoras, and they should do a study on fedoras and do the same thing. It was like
We should do a podcast on fedoras.
but honestly, like, why are they so awful to look at?
And yet so prevalent
popular.
in culture for like decades.
Yeah, it's like Neo, Jason Mraz, and they're still wearing them. It's weird. Okay, but it was a leather vest that they put on little mice, and then they'd make them copulate with a mate. and then would have other control mice that would just copulate. And over time, the mice that were wearing the vest would not be able to literally have sex without the vest.
Oh my God, actually?
Yeah. They just, like, isn't that crazy?
That
but
is
also, I'm
actually
like,
crazy.
ostensibly, like, that is a weird study.
No, okay. I have more to back this because
Pavlovian.
that has been evidenced in birds as well. Not with clothes, but they say like birds and other mammal species acquire sexual preferences through interactions with the same species. So if probably like you're saying, like they probably show that when birds interact in a way, even if it's a coincidence, this bird became sexual and there was a coincidental interaction, like that will inform their sexual preferences.
Yeah. And I think that's also what they about humans too, maybe.
Yeah. And so
that makes sense. Pavlovian theory.
It was also linked. So they say people who have high sex drives, they believe that might be why they are more likely to have fetishes because they're more often aroused. And if you're aroused, you're more likely to maybe have more things around you.
Oh my God, you get bricked up randomly because you're so horny and you're looking at your fern in your home. And all of a sudden you're like, well, maybe I want to fuck my fern.
Literally.
Do I want to fuck my plants? Nope, never happened.
No.
But maybe if I could look at it a little sensually.
Change the way. Okay.
You come home, there's dirt everywhere because I'm banging the root system of our plants.
The Monstera. Thank God the holes are there already. Okay. Next theory, gross out theory. 2 final theories. Gross out. So it says in high states of arousal, your disgust impulse weakens.
Oh, true.
And so
true.
It's as though it could change your perception of the world and why maybe like kinky thinks, because your brain's like changed its state and it no longer thinks things are as gross. And that's why some people like get into kind of like dirty sex.
Oh my God. Okay. So that's the gross out theory. We need to make a video about this because it's like, I remember the first time I was like, I would let that man shit on me. Oh! Okay, so like this is when I'm like, I hope to God my mom has turned this podcast off. So I remember I was like, it was like everyone on grad trip was
You've
like,
never told this to me, and I am never gonna.
I feel like I have, but you've just forgotten. Like I don't know. I used to talk about this a lot, but I just haven't in a long time because that's whatever. I was really young. Everyone was like, going to Cancun. And I was like, I'm gay. Like, I can't go there. Like, I'll get murdered. Like, so I decided to go on the art trip of my school with like a bunch of like grade 9 nerds and like me and my friend. But it was also cool. So instead of like Cancun, I went to Paris and we had it was like, I'm in Paris. I'm traveling for the first time. Like, oh my God. And then like this bus pulls up and this like gorgeous, like the first European man I've seen comes out and he's our tour guide. And I was like, oh my God, I was immediately like, that's the hottest person I've ever seen. And I just remember as we were going in, he walked up the steps in front of me and like his ass was like in my face. And I was like, I would let him.
No.
Like, I was like, he's so hot. Right. I would let him shit on me. And then there's like a funny thing now, like in the later parts of my life where like, if you're at like, I don't know, you're in a place where you see someone so hot, I sometimes will go, would I let him shit on me? And I'm like, no, it's not that hot.
Oh my God.
Or like, unbelievably hot people.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can compare, not in terms of hotness, but it's like that same, not that, like, when people look at babies and they're like, oh, it's so cute that I would like kill it. And they obviously don't actually mean kill it. Right?
Wait, whoa, yours is weirder than mine. Your fetish is murder.
No.
Like, lock him up, people.
Like when all I can relate
Never
is
mind,
like
not
there's like
shame.
intense emotions associated that you take it to the extreme and like someone shitting on you is obviously the extreme.
Yeah, so picture that next time and you might be like, oh yeah,
no,
shit on me.
No, because as soon as I actually picture it, I'm like,
I'm not like
smells so bad.
Yeah, okay, I'm not like thinking like him rubbing his turds all over me, but I'm just like, it's a moment of like, you're that hot that I'd like most people, it's like someone's like, can I shit on you? I'd be like, yeah, hard no.
Yeah.
And we're gonna,
but like no kink shaming if people are into that.
No, I'm just saying for me, I usually don't want to get shit on or shit on someone.
Almost always.
It's a rare occurrence. You meet them once every 2 years, like those hot.
That often?
Okay, wait.
You have a kink and a fetish.
No, okay, fine. Once every 4 years.
Literally,
5?
Never crossed my mind. Maybe once in my life, but not for like. I've never been like, well, let that person do it. I have only ever been like, I would never let anyone do.
Well,
that
it's
to
the
me.
gross out theory because sometimes you can get so aroused that you're not grossed out by things, and that's interesting, and that maybe led to my shit fetish. Please, no one quote me on that.
Okay, final theory is the pain theory. So research shows that sexual release and pain in the brain are very similar in terms of like the neurotransmitters that get fired, in terms of the chemicals,
Pain?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is just what I read. Okay.
No,
I'm
just like that's interesting.
and so they think that maybe that chemical release
deception.
ties like connections between those kind of emotions.
So that's why you
Similar,
like BDSM and stuff.
Potentially, yeah, and in like getting choked or like
Oh, I do like that.
like people like to get spanked and stuff.
Well,
you know what I
okay,
mean?
let's
There's,
talk
like,
about that.
pain.
Is that fetish?
Well,
I like
I'm just
that.
only gonna finalize that theory by saying they link it almost similar to runner's high, where it's like pain sometimes can
Yeah.
actually like chemically bring you pleasure.
Yeah, hello. It's like why I jump in cold water.
Yeah.
Spank me, daddy.
So, do I think? Oh, I do not think pain is good at all because I'm such.
But
a
sometimes
baby.
we do. Are you not enjoying that, or is that for me?
Yeah, I'm like,
You're like,
just
I
crying.
fucking hate when Greg strangles me.
No, okay, so there's obviously limits to everyone, right? And so these are spectrums. And so in my mind, of course, I don't mind playing with that idea of whether it's pain or fetish or kinks or whatever. Like there's my own limit where I go, it's too painful. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people
for
can go
it.
past mine.
Oh yeah.
That's all I mean.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I don't disagree. Like in my own sexual existence, like I push the boundary of pain, but for what's comfortable to me.
But that's true. That's true. But that's also interesting. It's like that's why safe words are important because it's so different for everyone.
Yeah.
Literally based on the nociception, everyone knows that people feel pain differently.
And
that's a
yeah,
really
just
good thing
the
to think
perception.
about.
Yeah. So I do think like, oh yeah, it can be exciting, but
But you're just like mine's
I
like,
know I'm really a wimp, and sometimes even just like you laying on top of me, I'm like I'm in pain because it's like uncomfortable.
oh, I love when people like lay on
No, but
me.
I can get into
But
that
now
too
I'm,
if
like,
it's
being
done
like,
right.
this
But
is so
sometimes you're just
weird.
like getting out of bed and touch
Yeah.
me, and I'm like, ah.
No, I know. Like truly, I'll like sometimes be like, "Hello, Mitch," and he'll be like, "Ow, forceful said," and I'll be like, "Can I hit you with my words?" Like it's like you're so funny, you're so sensitive.
Yeah.
So that is interesting because it's like, yeah, your limit. You have to be careful for yourself.
Yeah, and everyone just has to know their limit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's interesting because I think everyone could do well to think about fetishes and sex in their own spectrum because
Yeah.
it allows you to explore at least what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Like everyone on some level can play with pain because obviously it's linked, but it's like your level of pain might just be like deep massage.
Okay, so this is like why kink shaming is bad in
Yeah.
the study. So it was like they found 1,398 kink involved or kink identified people, which I
Okay.
think was like cool, hot. I'm kink involved.
Yeah, I always
That's
wonder
hot.
sometimes how they screen for people if they
Yeah,
explicitly
that's
ask
weird.
or if they like deduce based
Yeah,
on
how do
their
they do
interests.
that?
Like,
Is it like
there's probably a question on the survey that was
or
like,
they're like it's like a scientist like working in a hospital and then like like a gay bear walks in with like assless leather chaps and they're just like, huh, maybe we should ask that guy about our BDSM survey because we're more likely gonna get him saying, yeah, I'm kink.
yeah, I think
involved.
I think
That's not how they do it.
they just like put out calls for volunteers that, and the probably stipulation is like you identify as someone who's into fetishes.
Yeah. So it said kink involved people who engaged in atypical erotic activities such as bondage, rough sex, and other fetish activities.
Or other atypical activities like liking a cheek.
Yeah.
Any part of the body that's not a genital, as we learned
Yeah.
earlier on.
Yeah, exactly. So they found that a high number of the participants had not discussed their kink with their physician. So it was like almost
it
60% because they're ashamed.
bad or embarrassing.
And then it was also that 49.6% of them had not brought up to a therapist or a mental health professional. So it's like
Yeah.
because of kink shaming, these are just things that they're not telling people who would maybe need to know.
Yeah.
And then the number of people who reported delaying or avoiding health care because of anticipated perceived stigma of kink involvement, because what they were doing, maybe they like, I don't know, BDS, like whatever, something happened and they like were like, I'm not even going to go seek help because I'm so embarrassed.
It's like obviously I'm seeing that in my own life as well. Like it is just so crazy because sometimes I tell myself like, oh, maybe there is a line with what is like sexually appropriate or not. But it's just like, why would there be? Thinking of other species, it's like so weird that we judge sexual acts in such an intense way.
Yeah.
Right?
But well, the thing is like, I think it has to do with like harm. It's like, we're saying fetishes and like all aspects of sex are normal if you're not harming yourself or someone else. And what's so fucked up is that predominantly like men and like humans have done really harmful things through sex. Like it's been used like throughout history as like such a like, just like you have to also make sure and be aware that that is something that like we make sure brains don't want to do. which is like harmful sex. So I think that's like the
Right.
thing, the reason why a lot of the shame comes from
see.
like
'Cause
people, I think,
the
correlating
idea is
around.
like maybe it gets to a bad place and an actual legitimized, not because it's like taboo sex, but it's actually maybe could
like,
be harmful.
And human, like men rape, like colonizers
Yeah.
raped. Like it's like that is
right. So sex
disgusting and
is
awful.
actually
And
sometimes tied to violence.
I don't know. I feel like beating, like I feel
No,
like
that's
kink
interesting.
shaming is tied
That's
to
interesting because I
violence.
was like, it's so sad that we sex shame as
That's just
general.
what that's just literally just me
But that's
saying
an-
that
yeah,
and
no, it's an
thinking that. I don't know if that's
interesting
true or not. Because all these
justification.
things, you have to make sure you aren't harming yourself or harming other people.
Yeah.
That's the most important part about sex, is just always remembering that.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And it's just like weird and it can be dangerous, like sex in general. Literally, it's like you're like like
it
literally
can
just
be
like
painful, you
mixing
can
your
hurt yourself.
bacteria
Yeah.
and viruses
Yeah.
and fluids.
That's true. And the consequence is so large too.
Yeah.
To like have even dangerous sex, like you can have a kid if you're a heterosexual couple, but also you can like spread disease and stuff. Like I guess like I am just trying to realize like there might be reasons that like lots of sex and is evolutionarily like sometimes seen as bad. But then obviously it's like beautiful that in the society we're trying to like, because it's also used as a tool to oppress people, especially women, right?
Yeah.
But also like gay people and like people who don't conform to normal sex. Normal sex in quotes.
I have like a thing that's like in my head that I like I don't even think I should say it on the podcast. We
Okay,
should just
don't
move
say
on.
it.
Yeah, we should just move on because I'm like
When you have that disclaimer, don't say it because I don't want you to regret
No.
something in the future.
No, I just like I don't know how to figure it out.
He's gonna
but
say it.
It's like no, I'm not gonna say it. Okay. I'm like panicking. Okay. No, but listen to the future. When I've figured out my thought, I will tell you. So keep listening. One day, I just haven't. It's not a fully formed thought.
That you don't want to do it like
And it could like, and then if done just like a little wrong, it's like nope. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So also another thing I liked was a Brazilian study, because Brazilians apparently watch the most Pornhub per capita.
Oh wow.
Hot. Brazilians are so hot. You're all watching
And
sex
assuming
porn.
this is straight porn.
No, this is a lot of gay porn.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was like men who have sex
Wow, a
with
study
men.
on gay porn.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was like, well, it was a study on men who have sex with men and watching bareback gay porn, and then ask them a bunch of questions. And there was a higher amount of people who were having unprotected sex with men who were men who watched bareback.
That makes sense.
unprotected
Yeah.
sex
Which is
porn.
like actually
Cool.
obviously
Interesting correlation. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and how porn shapes people's fetishes and desires.
Yeah.
Because you're aroused while you're doing
Yeah.
it, presumably, and then you can like build up. It is just interesting because I have heard about that before, where the advent of bareback porn increases bareback sex in the gay community,
Yeah.
or has, and as a result, more sexually transmitted diseases, like not unprotected sex. Like
That's what this study's main takeaway was from, because all the other answers and like ways they found out about these Brazilian people's lives, like there wasn't as strong a correlation. And I guess they asked the right questions. They asked like, how often do you participate in unprotected sex with men? And then it was interesting. It was like 0 to 20 minutes, 20, like how much
of
bareback
time.
porn do you watch
Wow.
per week? And then they would answer. Some might say 0. Some might say like whatever.
yeah, that'd be such a weird question
That'd be
to
such-
answer. I'd be like, I have to really
Did
think
you-
about that.
I used to be, it was like my freaking personality for like my whole life in school. I was like, I'm the coolest person ever, because I was chosen as like a stats can kid.
Oh yeah,
It was so
That
fun.
is interesting,
And it helped me be
like want to contribute
progressive.
to science.
well, okay, I don't know if my parents signed me up or if they just randomly chose, but what would happen is like every year, like twice a year, I get pulled out of class and the teachers, everyone's just like, oh yeah, for sure. And I would like, it's like, oh, you're doing the stats can thing. And I would go to this room and this person would come in. They're always really nice. And they'd be like, here is a survey about you. It's very personal. It is 100% confidential. I don't know it. No one will ever know your answers. Do this, and it takes like 3 hours, and there's like always a sex pamphlet, like the way the sides were ripped. It's kind of
Right.
like when you're voting, it's like very official. You know what I mean? Like how it's like they give you a thing, they're like, now rip the side, like to prove that they hadn't like altered it or something. And there was always this like sex pamphlet, and it would ask the most specific, intense questions that as a young person and being told like this is no
Right.
judgment here, it like opened my eyes. It was like, that's an option.
That's
And then it was like,
interesting, yeah.
it made me like question things. It was like answering questions in ways that like were obviously teaching you things, but I would have to say so many things like about sex. And I think maybe even when I was young enough, like grade 6, they were probably like, have you had sex? Because they need to like know. And I was
Right,
like,
they're trying to
"No," but, like,
understand.
that's the first time you asked me that. Like
Yeah.
that's intense.
No,
and then
that's
that
really
data
interesting.
goes to Stats Canada, a government, and then they say this many kids participated in marijuana.
Yeah,
so they're like, that one,
can help.
marijuana's the one. And I'd be like, yeah.
And like, and you'd be like, I hope
Yeah.
no one.
They were
is
like,
taking
they're
this.
like, grade 9s are doing it. There's a crisis, and I was a part of the crisis of marijuana.
You were like the stat.
And probably like giving blowjobs.
No, but that's really
too.
interesting.
Like, it would
That
ask me
is-
about, it would literally be like, how many blowjobs have you given? Like, I'm not kidding. They wouldn't say blowjobs. They would say
don't-
oral sex.
like they're in America, don't they all have like, or do we all do the census, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
like
We
but
don't
that's-
do that.
Yeah, we do.
Oh.
You have to do that.
I know.
They send it to you, and you have to.
Yeah,
submit
that's
it.
why I did it every time.
It's like literally illegal. No, but those are obviously yours is probably way more personal. The census is like not.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if in America it's different,
loved
but
it.
like you just start basically filling out basic information about yourself.
Like, reach out to me if you were a Stats Can kid, because I want to know if I like had the coolest, weirdest experience. Like, how many people got to do it? It was
and
so
I'm
fun.
so curious if it was random or if your parents were like, we should sign Greg up to be a stats kid.
Yeah, because my parents also would do that, but my sister never did. And then just like another part, I remember I was in university first year, and they came to my res, and they were like, "This is the last one." Like, you were,
but it wasn't
you
the same
were-
people all the time, was it?
No, but they always
But it
were
was,
just
like-
so gorgeous. I feel like they had to be like social workers or something. Their vibe was so like, this is for you, and like if you've had anal sex, that's totally fine. Like,
You
they
were
just,
like
had
the
this vibe.
original Boyhood. They like followed you for so long. Isn't that
Oh,
movie where they
yeah.
like followed him?
Imagine it was the same person. That'd be a good like indie film.
Yeah.
Like, just through the years, the relationship built, just only in the sessions.
That's
of the
so
thing.
cute.
Yeah, but
Like as a science.
but they actually would play like games on their phone, and like, because they don't actually do anything, they just like are monitoring you.
Oh,
So like
but-
for 3 hours they'd sit there. It's like, it'd be different
know,
if they
like,
were
a
asking me the
relationship.
question. Yeah.
But like seeing a person through the eyes, like if it was the same person who saw you
Yeah.
every time, like they'd have to watch.
I
you, like,
honestly
grow up,
loved that.
even though they
And
didn't.
I'm like, I miss it. I wish they still did that. They should know what a 30-year-old.
That was
kid
your
is
fetish,
doing.
StatScan.
Yeah.
You're like, I just really want StatScan to come back because I cannot get off anymore.
Okay, so this is a weird one. It's not really a fetish, but like it really turns me on. And I was kind of like did a bit of ostensible jumping for this one. But there's a lot of, even you were kind of saying it, like Pavlovian, like there's a lot of weird research about like adopted daughters who choose partners who end up looking like their dads, even though they're
Okay.
adopted. Like that
Like
there is this
their
like
adopted dad or
Yeah.
their biological dad.
No, they're adopted dad.
Oh,
That's
okay.
my point. There's like they in this fetish journal that they linked to a study. I was like, this is interesting. They were trying to say there are correlations between what you find attractive based on what you get sexualized with growing up, and there's just something like what you're used to, and it's just interesting that they found a correlation of adopted daughters like being with people. I know it's weird. It's like look like your dad, but it makes sense when you think about childhood as a place where you form like whatever sexual.
Yeah, and
fantasies.
or ideas just about
just like what-
either
Yeah.
like genders or your male.
You probably think
father
about your
figure
parents
versus-
having sex first because it's the first time people are even like, this is what happened. Your mom and dad had sex to create you. And you're probably like, what? I don't know. Like, you just,
Yeah.
it's whatever. But then I was thinking, I'm so turned on when people wear like
Like,
tidy
your
whities.
parents better not be listening now. Either like I was
What?
making a joke.
I thought you just said tidy whities. What did you say?
No, I said your mom better not be listening because you're like, and I'm so turned on by my mom. Like I thought, like, thought
You
that's
ever
what
read
you're
Freud?
like,
no.
where are you going with this?
No.
No, by tidy white.
Tidy whities, like, which to me growing up was like the weird first underwear you'd get.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like the first time I ever like
That's
had
weird.
to
You're
look
right.
at my
Gay
body.
men love tidy whities.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't. Sometimes I can't even just
Briefs.
explain it. I'm just like watching porn, and like it doesn't even happen that much. It's just like someone's wearing, and I'm like, that's the one I want to click. Like that's hot. And even for me, I'm like
You're
getting
right.
hard right
And it
now. But that's the
definitely-
first underwear I ever wore.
That's
So
interesting.
it's the first time I ever saw my package in an underwear.
That's very interesting. No,
Informative
because I think a
years.
lot of people do have that, especially gay men, because they can identify. Like a straight man might have it, but they're not gonna like. I don't know, like. Get
Well, I
off
think
that.
like everyone's gay and everyone's straight, like in my head. But like,
Yeah.
but I think even straight guys would still have to look at themselves in underwear, and that's the first opportunity they get to see genitals. Like, not like straight guys get to just see female genitals whenever they want, but genitals are always sexual for themselves. They want to pleasure themselves. Like,
Yeah,
I think it works for everyone.
It makes sense. Like I think that underwear is probably one of the bigger fetishes for people.
There's totally a thing like Cameron Diaz and Charlie's Angels where guys are like, "Oh, my girlfriend wears my underwear."
Oh,
And it's like, I think that's like a thing that straight people say. And it's like, yeah, that's because you're obsessed with your own underwear from your fetish form, from when you looked at your first time in underwear, boys' underwear.
But I think you're right. A lot of gay porn also fetishizes like underwear with like jocks for some reason.
I always find that weird because I'm like, I didn't grow up with jocks.
I mean like jocks the people.
Oh.
But also jocks.
Oh,
I did
jock
play hockey,
straps.
so I had jocks and jock straps. But
Oh,
interesting-
wow. Because I didn't play hockey.
didn't play
That's why I
hockey.
don't care about jock straps.
Really?
I literally don't care about jock straps because I didn't see it during formative sexual parts of my. Are you kidding? If I was on a hockey team, I'm not seeing jock straps. Like for sure now, I'd be like, slap on the jock strap.
That's so funny. I've actually
Sexual
never thought
energy.
about why jock straps in the gay community are so popular, but
Like,
it's like
maybe it's that.
it's such a masculine. Even if you didn't play hockey, I think it's like represents a form of like energy. Like
That
it's,
is so funny because they're so gay and slutty to me that I've never thought about them as masculine. I'm like, it's like eeny weeny teeny little like undies, and like all I ever see are gay like jock straps, which are like pink.
Yeah.
So it's like I've never thought of them as masculine.
and I think like most like hockey players wear underwear with a jock strap on top.
Yeah.
Whereas like when gay
Oh,
people wear it,
true.
it's like you're
Yeah,
seeing a
you're
butt.
like holes out, man.
Yeah, you're just covering the crotch. So it actually is like different when you're in hockey. You're not like your ass isn't out for everyone.
Yeah.
You're like wearing underwear and then you put a jock strap on top. I think anyway, I forget.
Wow.
I was a kid, okay?
I'm definitely never like no, like don't come at me with jock strap. You know what I mean? You're like it's just like I'm not into that.
Oh, I would be into that for sure.
Oh yeah, I'll put on a jock strap for you.
But actually, this is how I know it's
I
a
put it on
childhood thing.
backwards.
It's like, no, but I need it to look like there's an actual jock strap in there.
okay, so I need to get a real jock strap
Because there
Yeah.
are sexual jock straps that are just like a pouch on front or whatever, or like
you need to be like
very soft.
I actually need to
I'm like,
protect my
no, you-
balls from tackling
Yeah.
the boys.
I need to think you're
Yeah.
playing hockey.
Okay, also the boy underwear thing, like this is such a cool like gender thing, but when I was kind of half out to my friends, like only half out, so I was like at a party, so it wasn't like, oh, I can
You're like,
just,
I'm bi.
Well, no,
you
no,
mean, like, two
no,
half
it
of
wasn't
them?
that. It was like I wasn't out to everyone.
Okay.
So I was kind of like, it is easier at this party to kind of, even though I'm gay and accepting more about my sexuality, it's easier in this public party to try and make out with a girl because I can just do that and not have to worry about any reciprocal like that guy's gay.
Right. Yeah.
It was like that kind of space for me in like the coming out phase. And there was this girl, and she was like, now that I think about it, like so masculine, and she had she had like Avril Lavigne tank top that was like cut short. Like boy underwear hanging out of like baggy jean pants. And I was like, fuck yeah. And I was like, that's the hottest girl. And then I hit on her and we like made out and I fingered her and it was like so hot. And I was like even attracted to boy underwear. Like I have a fetish of just like underwear. Like the white undies. She had white undies.
You just
and I
like
literally
white
fingered
undies.
her. And it literally was
Don't
so hot.
stop saying that. I don't know why that feels so weird to me.
Oh, yeah. And I was like, no, I'm just being like, it was fully hot. And it's like, I am actually telling everyone right now, like, I have an underwear fetish. Like,
Okay, good to know. And a tidy whitey one. specifically.
Yeah. Well, for that time, and then just like those are the first underwear I saw on myself. And the weird thing about being gay, it's like sometimes you look in the mirror and you like masturbate and you're like, am I gay or a narcissist? You know what I mean? Because it's like I am actually. When I first would look in the mirror at my butt, I was like, well, that's a boy's butt. And that's, you know what I mean? It's like a weird gay,
Yeah,
like queer
yeah, you
experience.
have to, like,
you're
face your own
cool,
body.
Like my butt's.
And at that age, you like
but-
aren't really allowed to see other people naked. So
Yeah.
like you're the only person you're
Yeah.
seeing naked.
Exactly.
Whereas like obviously as an adult it's different, but when you're young, like obviously some kids come across porn or watch porn, but there's an age where you're getting sexualized where you can't really watch porn
and
yet.
porn is so weird. Like
That your
when
own body is
when
like-
you watch porn, it is still on a screen. It's like as much as it's like fucking crazy, and we have so many videos on it, and definitely like takes over your neurochemistry. It's still not the same as like seeing your own body in real life. Like, like there's still that like
Yeah, true.
like it's the like looking
Yeah,
at
the
your
real
own
knowing
body.
something's real.
Yeah, it's so
in
intense
real
when you're
life
young.
and tangible. Yeah, totally.
like touching yourself.
I was still gonna want to say about like the most common fetishes.
Oh yeah,
Is it worth talking
you're
about
like underwear.
no, well, that is related to this. So, let me just, it was an older study, but it was like, it studied like thousands of people and put like all these different categories. And so obviously the first one, 30% of people, it was their fetish was for a body part or a piece of clothing associated with a body part. So
yeah,
like-
mine was the one associated with the genitals.
Yeah. So,
Ass.
and that's why like people like
Yeah.
feet, it's a body part
So
or like
shoes,
socks, right?
Oh my god, socks.
Yeah. People have like shoe
You
fetishes.
wait, your first.
What?
You
Don't point at me like
this
that.
guy over here said the first time he realized he was gay was when he saw Gaston's feet with a toe poking through a sock.
Okay, that is true.
a stinky sock.
That is true.
So-
but I think that was more the disgust thing where I was like, it's gross and yet I want it.
So have you not like if I got my one toe out stinky sock out, would you not be like
No,
"Fuck"?
because now I've turned into more of a prude. Like I think now I'm like, that's gross.
that was
It's
when you were
dirty."
so turned freaking on.
Yeah,
as
it
a
was like
kid.
free. I was just like, I just want it.
Gaston's feet.
Yeah, I to me, I could have a foot fetish only with like really nice feet.
Yeah.
Because to me, maybe that's
Yeah.
also what makes it interesting. But it's like I also find feet really gross sometimes, right? So
Yeah. Also, like
it's got to be like the most beautiful foot, and then I'll be like, I'm into that.
That's why everyone's getting pedicures.
I guess.
Because
Yeah.
then you're like, well, I think it's fine if someone wants to lick it.
Yeah, like it might as well be clean.
Like be ready to be sucked
But sometimes
on.
it can be perfectly clean. And to me, I'm just like, that's not a
that's
fit
just
for
not
me.
ready. Yeah.
You
Like
know?
Greg has gout again.
And I'm specifically
You're
talking
like,
about
Greg, that's
gout.
gout. So we're not going to do the foot stuff tonight.
Okay, so that was like the biggest one. 18%, which was like the second, were based on people's behaviors. So it would be a fetish with you acting a certain way, or if like what your
this is
partner
such-
or who you're
yeah.
hooking up with.
I'm like, I forgot about that. The concept of behavior.
Yeah, 7% was based on their own behavior. So it's like something I do that makes me feel turned on, whether that's with someone or not. It's like my behavior. Maybe it is like risky behavior, being in public, whatever. 5% were objects unrelated to the body. So I guess that would be
Interesting.
inanimate things.
Fucking the monstera plant.
Yes.
Which would be
And so it said
radical.
feet and objects associated with feet were the most common preference.
Okay, yeah.
So foot fetish, I think,
Yeah.
is like obviously top of the list. But people love like leather fetishes, which
Also,
is
kind of the younger, I'm going back to again, like formative, like when I was sexualized thing. It's like you're seeing like guys and girls' asses for the first time, like in tight jeans, like girls wearing like Parasuco jeans. And it's like, damn, that's like literally like her ass. Or like a guy,
yeah, you start to notice
like in a change room, like wearing like board shorts, and they're like, ah. And then I'm like, that's still what turns me on. It's like when I see like a hot
parts
guy's
in clothes.
ass in clothes.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
You know what I mean? I'm like, it's because that was also an early.
Yeah.
formative-
Sometimes I'm like, I don't actually think asses are as nice as asses in really good clothes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Today, this girl was like, oh my God, she was so hot. Like sometimes people work out at the gym and they're so hot.
Yeah, you're
and
like,
they
oh
don't
my
even look like
God.
they are. I'm literally like, you're not even doing that much. Like she literally was like, this, and it's like
Like,
you're
have the perfect
so
body.
hot. Like how do you have the perfect body? Because you actually, I'm like sweating over here, and it's
Trying
like
so
dying,
hard.
trying so hard, and you're effortlessly. She had this like literal like black athleisure wear thing that like the sides of it were see through, but like with like a little bit of mesh. All the way down, it was like so like it was like her whole
Like
side like
sexy
she was
workout gear?
so hot, and it's like that is so hot. I get, like for probably like because it's like I don't see your body, but you're
Right.
like it's
You're teasing
so
it.
tight,
Yeah.
and you're teasing it. And like when I saw Parasico jeans, it was like that, and I can like
Right.
see your ass, but there's like a thin layer of fabric over it, and oh my God, I'm getting so turned on. But then it's like if she was ever like pulled her whole pants down,
You'd
I was
be like, oh,
I was like my ass. I mean, I'd be like, well, let's go. But I'd also be like, but I'd also like in the workout context, I'd be like, that's weird. You're working out. Like it works. I'm like, I'm allowed to be like,
Right.
see it. And then it turns you on. Because if she was
Right.
bare, I'd be like, wait, you're doing crunches. That's so weird. And there's something.
Yeah, that would be
it's like-
crazy.
it's like,
if she's
ugh.
naked working out.
and that's the first time I would have ever been turned on as a kid. It would have been like
Parasuco jeans.
Parasuco jeans or board shorts, right? Like that's all people wore when we were.
Yeah, no, it is.
Growing
It is.
up.
That is really interesting. I had never thought about clothes in that sense. Like immediately with this, my brain went to socks and underwear. But it is
Yeah.
interesting how even like chest pecs under a shirt.
Yeah.
it's like that look of the way the shirt folds on pecs.
Yeah.
or boobs, presumably for people who like boobs.
Yeah.
it's like the look of the like a
yeah, it's
you know what I
literally
mean?
cleavage.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's like I'm turned on by like
The way
tops.
a body looks in clothes.
Yeah, yeah. Because then sometimes they take the clothes off, and you're like, oh, it's just not the same.
Oh my God. You know what? Probably a new fetish will be for a while. Masks. After this pandemic.
Oh yeah.
It's like kind of
Holy
associated because I was
shit.
like, it's
Leave your mask
interesting because
on.
like your face obviously is deemed as attractive, but would never be deemed as a fetish. But I think it's because you always see it.
Yeah.
There's no way if we were like
Yeah.
wore masks. That's why
Yeah.
like it's kind of sexy to
Like,
have a little mask on. you
Yeah,
know?
it's like I have a fetish for your nose. It's like no, you don't. You see that all the time. But with a mask, we wouldn't. Oh my God. Yeah, masks are hot. Like they actually are. Like everyone looks hot in them.
Yeah, and like when the pandemic is over, I bet people will just get like leather masks and be like sexy.
Well,
dominatrix. They probably already are.
It's like leave your masks on. Like if one thing is like this is disgusting.
Yeah, we
leave.
never
Like,
need to
we
go
can-
back to
like,
that,
Like
yeah.
let's all do it. Everyone looks better. Like I don't get why anyone would ever care not to, but especially in hospitals, like leave it for hospitals. Like we all get it. You show up, you take a mask. Like you can do that one. But yeah, no, I do think like, definitely there is current and in the future going to be mask fetishes. That's cool.
Well, that's all I had to say, I think.
Well, that can be the end of the show. And we don't want to get into the gay fetish, mask fetish, but it's MAC. You know, that's a different
that is a fetish.
podcast.
What are
That's
gay
a different
fetishes?
podcast.
Yeah,
I don't want to get into that.
We should have a podcast.
Toxic
on
masculinity in the gay
masculinity.
community. That's a long one. It's a bit of a mouthful. There's our catchy new podcast called Toxic Masculinity in the Gay Community.
All right.
Mask fetishes with a C.
Okay. See you later. Have a good week.